Hey FFBE, what's going on? This is the week of December 20th. We have just had the Final Fantasy VII Vision World and the units that came with it, Cloud and Barrett and such. And here to talk with me about the items that came out this week is Gert. Say hello, Gert.
What's up? Did you know that not Item World, Vision World is like my second favorite type of content we get in this game?
Well, that begs the question, what is your first?
Clash of Wills.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Clash of Wills is pretty good, but
free stuff, free units, free gear, and the same idea with Vision World. You get a bunch of free craftable stuff, so I'm glad we're talking about it.
Well, I mean, I guess it is free units in Clash of Wills. You get those obnoxious or whatever, and you do get tickets. I guess those blues do count as free units, I suppose.
They do.
Okay, so the first item we're going to look at this week is Wrecking Ball Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is a two-handed fist with 200 defense, 180 attack, and it has Activate Steel Sphere, which is a passive. And it boosts defense by 50%, LB damage by 50%, equipment defense by 50% whenever you're a TDH. Okay, so what do we think about this one?
So I like it purely for the fact that there's not a whole lot of stuff that gives that passive, the TDH defense passive.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not a whole lot of options, and the ones that we do have are either limited to great swords or from Neovision's units. So like Steiner's, for example, you can only get the benefit when you're using a great sword, and then like Bohemi's, which is really good, is on a Neovision's unit. The other one that I'm thinking of is Afmaw, is again a Neovision's unit. So for this to come off of an item, which you're going to be equipping a weapon anyway, is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, you could potentially equip this on a tank or something. You never know. I see it as a very farmable thing. It's just, it's not something you'd probably want to throw on a DPS.
No.
But on somebody who's trying to stack defense for actually taking damage, yeah, it's fantastic.
Unless that tank happened to be one of the handful that does damage based on their defense, in particular LB damage, which the new Barrett does, Jekt does, but Jekt has better options for sure. But it's there. It's definitely a farmable budget option.
It is a farmable budget option. I feel like for those units, like if you pulled Barrett, this could be a great slot for him. But really, what I would end up probably equipping this on is a provoke tank whenever the boss has accuracy or something. Rather than trying to use this as a LB damage defense scaling DPS. That's probably not going to happen. Of course, you never know. Maybe a future unit comes out and this is just their best in slot, but
I could also see you putting this on like Chow when you're trying to build him as a defense unit.
Yeah. I mean, it's got 200 flat defense in the fist slot, and it's also got passive defense and equipment defense. I mean, I think it's a great weapon that you should definitely farm out if you're trying to build defense on a unit. Okay, so moving on to the accessory, we have Iron Maiden, Final Fantasy VII Remake, 60 attack, defense and spirit 45, and activate Bangle of Fortitude, boost attack by 50%, boost physical and magical damage against Reapers by 50%. It's got less Reaper Killer?
Yeah, it's less exciting. The Reaper Killer is, in my opinion, my favorite thing on it. Just because it's Reaper Killer in a free slot. Everybody can use accessories, but you've got better attack options if you just want stats.
Now, before we get into this item a little bit further, I guess we should talk about how easy are these items to farm. Because you just finished it, so how was that for you?
For me, it was not that hard, but I also had, I put together a whole bonus team of Final Fantasy VII units, all at EX3, and then brought Tsukiko and just let them do their thing, and they could take out the final boss in one hit. So for me, it was not that hard. For a lot of players, I could see it being a little harder depending on what units you have.
Yeah, maybe farming a lower stage, not the final boss or something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to farm a final boss, do you think it would be, I mean, one of the lower bosses, do you think it would still be that painful, or?
It's not that bad because they like your own. I was getting 30 medals a turn on the lower bosses, and the final form, the +4, only costs 350, and the lower stages don't cost that much to run, so you can really farm these out pretty quickly.
Okay, how long would you say it took you?
If I was to sit like figure out the time that I actually sat down and did it, probably a couple hours.
Okay. But you can do that passively because just kind of hitting repeat, so you know you can do that.
Yeah, I was like refilling my energy with pots and stuff like that, and once you set up a chain of actions that works, you just hit repeat exactly, because that new repeat function is so good.
That's great. All right, so easy to farm. You could potentially get all of them without any sweat, but so Iron Maiden, I don't know if I was trying to build out a whole team and I really needed Reaper Killer, I guess, perhaps, but I would rather have something that has higher than 60 flat attack on it, because I feel like having the flat stats might just work better. I could get the Reaper Killer from other sources like Materias, for instance.
Materias, or even just accessories that also do the same thing. Now, this is a craftable free item, but like Sky's STMR also has Dragon Killer and Reaper Killer on it and higher attack. You know, but that's also, again, a Neovisions unit. This is a free item.
Yeah, but I always feel like these items that you have to craft and you have to farm, they should be at least comparable. You know, they should at least exist on the same level for free, not be lower than for free.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
it is good for the current event. I mean, the final boss is a Reaper, so if you're trying to gather stuff to help you fight the final boss, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, and you could potentially use it on the final boss. All right, we've got protective boots. Defense 55, Spirit 45, activate Rugged Boots, Nullify Stop, boost equipment defense by 50% when TDH. It's got Nullify Stop. Love it.
Love it. This is one of the two that I say you definitely don't want to miss.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of Nullify Stop gear in the game, and especially for free. So get it. It's easy to farm. It has null stop. It's great.
And if you pair it with the Wrecking Ball, you have 100% true double hand defense.
Yeah. Throw that on your Provoke tank. You got 100% TDH defense, you know.
And they're immune to stop. And they have 255 flat, 255 flat defense and some Spirit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a terrible combination.
It really isn't. It's definitely farmable free gear. It's not, you know, like best in slot, but it's definitely like best in free. Yeah. So for free gear, this is the best we've gotten in a long time.
Yeah.
Then in Circlet, we have MP Magic 70. And activate Crown of Magic. Boost magic by 50% and equipment magic when TDH. For free gear, I see this as being great. I mean, it's not comparable to like these time-limited STMRs that we've gotten recently, but it's definitely just absolutely amazing for free. 70 magic, 50% magic, 50 equipment magic. I don't know, if I'm trying to gear out a whole team too for 4 magic DPS, I could definitely see myself equipping this too, just because I don't, don't have that many of accessories to throw on every single unit. I don't have that many Lulu STMRs, but this is great, you know.
It's actually even just her TMR, I believe.
Oh, is it her TMR, the necklace?
Yeah, I believe it's just her TMR, and I think that's one of the only options that we have in the accessory slot that gives TDH magic.
Mm-hmm. It's there really isn't that many things that give TDH magic, and for a free accessory to give it, now it is less than the Neovision's unit, but it's still 50%, and it's got a high. That's 70 magic is actually, it's still pretty high. So
yeah, that's trial reward high.
Mm-hmm. So this is probably one of the best pieces of gear that we're getting out of this event.
Mm-hmm.
For DPS, that is. Probably the best DPS gear out of the event.
I'm saying, so I said that the boots were one of the two. This is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So these are my two must farm. These two items is the circlet and the protective boots.
Yeah, the circlet is definitely going to see use on teams, and the protective boots, if you need that stop and equipment defense, it's right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Moving on to Sonic Strikers, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Attack 247 and Human Killer and Reaper Killer.
In a world where you want a one-handed weapon, it's fantastic.
In a world where...
Yeah, exactly. And that world is coming back eventually.
Yeah, but by the time that world comes back, a 247 attack is not going to be great. So
this is technically higher attack than the Dark Vision's Fist.
It is.
And it has actual stats on it other than just attack.
It is, but we're so heavy into a TDH meta right now that anything that's one-handed is not really that usable unless a unit is specifically designed for it, like Sky.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you miss it, you're gonna be okay, but you know, try to farm it if you can. It's free.
Yeah, I agree. If you can't do it, now this is, again, I believe this is the Rufus fight gets you the Sonic Strikers, so he's not too bad, but still.
Yeah, I mean he's not too bad at all. He's not easy, you know. I don't know. The last time I can remember something that was easy was the Clash of Wills where you raise it, but that's that, because you literally get Savior of Souls Lightning for just doing the first like few quests, and she has raise, so
yep.
Boom.
That one was a fun event.
And that's my tier for easy now.
Okay.
So unless it's that easy, I don't. You know.
No AI is the threshold for what is considered easy. I understand.
Exactly. Exactly. No AI can be one shot with a basic move. So not easy to get, but all right. And then Power to Challenge Fate 5. It's just Reaper Killer, but it's only for Final Fantasy VII units.
Yeah. So the way I feel, the same way I feel about this one as I did about Zohar Access 5, where like when you need it and when it's useful, it's fantastic because it's bigger than your standard Reaper Killer buff. You can put it in somebody's off form and then like shift to their damage form and they still keep the buff. It's potentially very useful when it's useful. Every other instance that you don't need it, it's a waste of an ability slot. But you know, it's cool. You could also theoretically steal it with Zon and spread it around.
Yeah, you could steal it with Zon and spread it around. What is the killer percentage?
I believe it's 180. Let me double check that. I have to go into my game here. Apologize for that.
So you found it?
Yeah, it's 180% for 5 turns.
180%, and that's definitely stealable. So that's worth it to bring in probably even a lower tier Final Fantasy VII unit, and not just, you know, the new Cloud. So you could bring in like NVA Barrett or something just to get that buff, and then steal it with Zon.
Or probably my favorite Final Fantasy VII units, Jesse and Biggs and Wedge.
Yeah, because you could use them as like your cover unit or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could definitely see Power to Challenge Fate 5 getting use currently. Steal it with Zon, and you've got a great killer that you can redistribute almost at 200%.
Yep, very good for the final fight if you don't have this already by the time you get to the final fight.
I am very much a fan. All right, so yeah, try to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Then moving on to Rune Blaster. This you get for doing the new chapter of the story. It has 160 defense and spirit, and enable anti-assault field. One use every 5 turns, but only Rune can do this, and it is just an attack break for all enemies. Now, do you know what that attack break percentage is?
I believe it's 87%.
See, that's a great attack percentage, but he already has, what is it, 85 in his kit?
I'm looking at that right now. I have Rune pulled up. So in his kit, he has Rune Laser, which is 80%.
80%.
So it's 7% better.
All right, so if you're running, this is a gun too. That's interesting. So if you're running, so you could run this and run his shield. So now he has a weapon that he can run, I suppose, that gives him defense and spirit. You'd probably still run like Warrior of Light's STMR, but whatever. But now he has a very good.
It's a constant uptime, 87% break.
Yeah, that's great if you're using Rune. It doesn't have any magic break attached to it, but he's also a physical cover tank. If you're going to be using magic break, you know, they're designing it for the boss doesn't have magic attacks, but that's never the way things are programmed. You know, things have magic and attack, but whatever. You'd want to have both.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes his breaks more usable, so that's nice. And it gives him more of a rotation, because right now his rotation's kind of just use his LB,
cover the next turn.
Cover, maybe use Shelga.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uses SLB.
Uses SLB. Uses Elemental Barrier, maybe. Yeah, so this gives him something else to do for 87% attack. So it's a nice addition for Rune exclusively. It'd be nice if anybody could equip that, because then this would be great, but it's Rune locked. Oh well. Yep. Moving on to what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it is again though free and readily available, because everybody can go into season 4 and get this immediately just by working through the story. It does have some challenge to it, because some of the bosses that you have to fight to get some of these items are a little tough, but strong friend units can pretty much carry you through season 4. Yeah.
You can take a good Golbez and knock out most of those bosses.
That is true.
All right, so moving on to Cloud, our new Neovision Cloud, his STMR and TMR. We've got Cloud's Clothes, Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is his STMR. It has 140 attack, 55 defense, and boost equipment attack 100% when TDH. Now that he's been out for a few days, and Clash of Wills, Vision World is rolling. Do you see this as being needed? People should have to get this right now. If they haven't gotten Cloud yet, should they be dropping their whole wallet to get this?
I'm not.
Exactly, right? This is something that it's got great attack on it. It's got equipment attack on it. It could be a best in slot for a lot of units, but he's a permanent unit. You're gonna get him eventually, probably. So
with all the free summons that we're getting in the next 6 weeks, yes, somebody one of those is, you know, has a fairly good chance to be a Cloud, you know. Yeah.
It's a great STMR, but it will not make or break your account. For some people, it might make or break whether or not they can get rank 1 in something. But if you already have the gear for that, this probably isn't going to be the make or break difference. Then his Trust Mastery is showered with Mako.
I've always said Mako, but I've never played the remake, so I don't know. I think there's voice acting in it, so I'm sure they say it in there somewhere.
So it's boost LB damage by 50% and killers for human and machine by 50%. I like it. 50% LB damage and 50% killers, but it's also human and machine, so it's like whatever. It's kind of trash because of that.
Yeah, we just got a bunch of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't already have it, it's great because a lot of enemies are human and machine. But like, we've got so much of this crap.
Yeah, I like all 3 of those things on one slot, which is cool. Sometimes it's even useful to have all 3 of them on one slot, but I believe Cloud does not need it. I believe he already caps the LB damage anyway.
Well, he's already showered with Mako. He's trying to let everybody else have the joy of it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. So moving on to Barrett. I'm sorry. Barrett.
Barrett is exactly it.
Moving on to Barrett. His STMR is EKG cannon with 180 attack, 220 defense. It is a two-handed weapon, good, and it boosts fire and wind resistance by 30%. And for Avalanche's Barrett only, this doesn't activate for regular Barrett, right? Like NVA Barrett, right?
Does not.
Yeah, which is strange. Usually they make that trigger for every version of the unit, but
yeah.
Boosts defense by 500, which is just like it adds 500 at the end there. So what do you think about this one?
It's the same attack as the Wrecking Ball, 20 and 520 defense higher than the Wrecking Ball. But you also don't get the TDH defense on it.
Yeah. Going back to like Runda, I'd probably run this as the gun for Runda instead, but you know.
Except for that Runda wants to wear his shield.
Well, that's true. That's true. It is two-handed. Yeah. But the fire and wind resistance is nice. The defense is nice. I mean, this is made specifically for Barrett. But,
I can't think of any other defense tanks that naturally wear guns. Could Viktor Marchenko wear guns?
Viktor Marchenko was very designed around guns, but he never got an NVA, and he didn't get an NV base. I actually really loved that banner. I thought those two units were fantastically made.
I couldn't get Victor, but I had Adam Jensen. So
see, I was the other way around. I tried to get Adam Jensen, but I couldn't get him, and I ended up getting 6 Victor.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was like, why? And that was back in the days when the pull rates were terrible. Oh my gosh, I was trying to get Adam Jensen's, what was it, his Trust Mastery? SW9, was that his Trust Mastery?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good times.
Okay, so then moving on to Barrett's Trust Mastery, a Dad's Pride, equipment defense, 100% whenever a gunner fist is equipped. I think this could be good.
It could be. It's a little limited. I made that complaint about Steiner's STMR being locked to a greatsword. I feel like at least there are some one-handed defense greatswords that one might use. There are fewer, I would say, defense guns and fists that are one or both handed. Now, the exception being the EKG cannon and the Wrecking Ball. But you know, or Afmal's fist, which is one-handed. You know, there are a handful, but not as many as like there are like, you know, swords and great swords and things like that.
Just looking up, yeah. You're right. It's just Wrecking Ball and Afmal. Okay.
A little limited, but I think it's good. I mean, it's 100%, which is nice.
100% is nothing to laugh at. That's pretty good, but
I would definitely put it on Chow.
Well, you'd also have to be equipping Chow with a fist or a gun.
Like the Wrecking Ball.
That's true. Mm.
Wrecking Ball, boots.
You love the Wrecking Ball on Chow. I don't know. Hold on a second. Let's go back and look at that. How is Chow holding Wrecking Ball? Is he just wearing it like a hat? Like
yes, he puts his mouth in the arm socket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He wears it like a muzzle. All right.
Yes, exactly. It's got spikes on the end of it and everything. He's totally brutal.
Oh my god. Chow coming out looking like a Mad Max character.
That's right.
Okay, then we've got the vision cards for the Final Fantasy VII units. Now, since Cloud is a premium unit, you wouldn't get this until you get to EX3, so, but it is 150 attack, and it has LB damage of 100%, killers for humans by 100%, and for Final Fantasy VII units, attack of 500. I don't see this being something I need to chase a unit to EX3 for.
It's definitely an upgrade from the old Final Fantasy VII premiums, so like Tifa and Sephiroth's card. It's definitely better than both of those, but that's just a small increase, and it's not like I'm not chasing after this because it's not flat stats for everybody, or let's be real, flat stats for the best characters in the game, which are the FFBE units.
Yeah, really, the game should be going more towards roles rather than series. Because, like, for instance, whenever you got Tomb Raider, her card said for Tomb Raider units only, and she's the only one. So it really meant for her. But if it would have said for gun users only, or physical attack based units only, or something like that, then it makes them way more viable. It makes that lock, and we have locks like that, like Ilhana's accessory. Only healers can equip it. I
mean, there are vision cards like that. There are vision cards that are currently locked to the breaker units, or that only give benefits for breaker units or tank units.
Exactly. So I don't think that they should continue with this, because it just means that you can only use this on Cloud, for instance.
Especially premiums. Like a premium vision card, I think should be a little more flexible. But just like compare this one to the New Guardian Tidus vision card, which has like no limitations.
I mean, what it says to me, like, because that's we're playing a gacha game. Everything's based on money. So what this says to me is, don't pull, because next time they release an FFB unit, it's going to have a card that's good for the units you actually use. Because it's going to say requirement FFB unit. So, and whenever it says like requirement FFB unit, that basically says you can't use any collab units, you can't use Final Fantasy VII or whatever, you can't use those units because the cards that are locked to FFBE don't work. So
unless it's like Dazzling Demoness, like it has 2 of the 3 really good properties on it, and then the third one is really good, but it's only locked to FFBE. The chain cap up is only on FFBE.
But the chain cap up's amazing. It frees up. You could run
so good. And yet you still run it on Golbez.
Yep. Just because of the MP. All right. So, and the human killer I see on this is just, we've got so much human killer in the game,
and he doesn't need it. I think he's like I think that he's like one of the ones that gets like 250 to every killer, so he doesn't need 100% human killer.
Is this card for Aerith? Is that what they gave her for free? Like, who's this card for? So I don't. It's got good art. I like the art.
Yeah, it's cool, and the animation on it's really good too. I've seen it in game.
All right. Then we have Barrett's vision card, and since he is not a premium unit, you can get him at EX1. 1000 HP, 100 defense. It has guts, which I really love guts on vision cards, and requirement physical tank. See there, that's okay.
There it is.
Physical tank right there. They did it for one card, but not the other. It's like they know, and they choose to do it anyways. So.
And do you notice that the requirement on it at the bottom, right? Level 10, physical damage versus humans 100%. Just like the other one. They have the same thing.
They have the same thing, but one of them can go on any physical tank.
Yeah.
But the other one's locked to only Final Fantasy VII units.
Yeah. Now again, that assumes you're doing a damage dealer physical tank, right? So we're talking Lilith, we're talking Jecht, we're talking Barrett, Gabrant if you feel like being silly, whatever. But like that's kind of where you're at.
But are there any units that are attack based but are tagged as physical tank? See, that's because it's a tag.
That's a good question.
Let's look that up. All right, so did we find any?
Of the ones that I'm looking at, Lilith is the obvious choice, but also kind of reminding me that Fledgling Warrior is a tank that can do damage in both its forms.
Okay.
So that's an option. And if you were wanting to be really technical, Sabin, Monk Sabin of Colts has the physical tank tag and does damage. But I don't think his scales off of defense though. But
yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's just 100% killer. So yeah, Nappy.
Let's go.
Base form Nappy.
Not throw on a Nappy's potential because everybody has that.
Yes, everybody. Yeah, I mean, he's limited Beast King Crocodile.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so who's this card for? Maybe Barrett. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, but it's a card with guts on it, and I do like cards with guts on it. It's got 1000 HP. It's for a card with guts and actually having stats. This is the best one. So
yeah. If you didn't like say pull for the special vision card that was on the Lilith step up, this is a fairly decent option. And if you don't have Jecht's vision card, this is a fairly decent option.
Yeah, this is the cheaper version of those, and it's got a cool fight with a helicopter as they are. So hey, all right. So let's look back through the week.
Yeah.
So farm out the wrecking ball, the boots, the circlet, and the killer. Those are the big ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Those are the time limited big ones, yeah.
Yeah, the time limited big ones. Rundas is nice, but not necessary. Like, it kind of makes them a little bit more useful. And the STMRs and TMRs, Cloud's STMR is nice, but you can just get it when you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And of the two vision cards, not really needed, but maybe if you need, like you don't have a premium card or like Lilith's card, his card's pretty good for your tank.
Yeah. Or especially if you don't have like power cut.
Yeah. Well, power cut was almost or more than a year ago though, right?
It was the that wasn't Dragon Quest Die, was it?
It might have been.
If so, that's less than a year ago, but
it was in versus Mystrian. It was 6 months ago.
Okay, so there you go. Obviously, players who are starting now wouldn't have that.
Or from 5 months and 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So, and I definitely see a lot of people all the time that are like, I recently started, so they don't have things like that. Which is something I think that a lot of people miss out on. They're like, or especially like the game, they're like, so they assume that people have time limited stuff, but not everybody has it because they haven't been around for those things. So getting items like this is really good. Or maybe just a player was, I don't know, busy that week, or, you know, who knows?
Heaven forbid you have a life.
Heaven forbid. So this is a great card for people who have missed out on the free versions and happen to nab a Barrett off of that and throw it on their tank.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. It's a great budget option for that is permanently available. All right. Well, anything you want to say before we head out, Gert?
No, I appreciate you letting me come and talk about these. These are fun items.
Yeah, this was a good week for items. All right, man. Thanks, and I look forward to seeing your video that you're going to be throwing up later.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Peace.